Welcome to Civil Engineering Knowledge Channel. So I had uploaded one video on column orientation, right? Yeah, I got a very good response for this column orientation video. I just want you people to suggest me on which topic you need more presentable videos so that I can just start working on those topic and I can make that topic easier for you. Okay, so today, so as I had made video on column orientation, let us just know the very 10 basic principles that are useful for civil engineering. That is 10 basic rules for column design. Okay, so that is 10 basic rules for column design. So in this first one, so always you should choose square column for axial load. Okay, then you should choose a rectangular column for eccentric load. So the now question comes, what is this axial load and what is this eccentric load? Okay, for example, this is a column. Okay, so here if the load is acting at center of the column, that is if the load is acting at the center axis of the column, so that load is nothing but the axial load. In this case you should choose the square column. So if the load is acting at the distance x from the center, that means instead of acting on this point, it is acting here. So this is known as eccentric load. So in such case, you need to choose the column that is rectangle. So the now point comes, what is this eccentric load? Okay, so that means how the eccentric load will act. For example, this is your building plan. Okay, so here we consider 30-40 is the site. Okay, so in this 30-40 site, you will leave the offset. Okay, you will leave some offset here and there. So when you do offset, this is your plan area where you need to construct your home. So here and all you had properly taken the columns, but in this portion you need to project one column, but this full column we cannot project. For example, if it is 200 by 200, we cannot project this full column on this portion. In such case, the half column will be placed. So here the square column will not be fit in. So in such case, we need to select the rectangular column. That is what I have told here. Here the load will not be acting on center of the column. Instead, it is acting at the distance x from the center. That is nothing but called as eccentric load. So whenever there is a portion where you need to choose the eccentric footing, so when the eccentric footing comes, your column will be acting as eccentric column and the load also will be the load which is acting on that column is known as eccentric load. Okay, in such cases we need to choose the rectangular column. The one more is square column. Whenever the column is at the right position, or we can provide a proper size of the column, for example 200 by 200, in such cases the load will be acting exactly on the center. So in such case we can choose the square column. So next one, the second point what we can choose is the size of the column. So according to Okay, so according to this thing, minimum size of the column that you need to choose is 225 mm into 225 mm. So in inch, if you want, it is 9 inch by 9 inch. Okay, so this is the minimum size of the column that you need to choose on. So let us come for third point, that is longitudinal bars. Okay, so how much minimum number of longitudinal bars we need to select if it is square column and if it is rectangle column? In case of square column, we need to choose both square and rectangle minimum longitudinal longitudinal reinforcement that should be in 4 numbers. That is, if you see the column, okay, so here the longitudinal bars will be placed minimum 4, that is top 2 and bottom 2. So in the section, if you want to see the reinforcement which is acting, it is known as longitudinal reinforcement. Okay, so the minimum longitudinal reinforcement in case of square and column is square and rectangular column is 4 numbers. In case of circular column, okay, so in case of circle, it is 1 2 3 4 5 6 numbers is minimum. Okay, this is a minimum number of the longitudinal reinforcement that we need to select. Next, the fourth point. So these 10 basic rules for column design is very much important if you go for any interviews or when you go for any analysis part or when you want to design any column. These are very much important things that you need to keep it in mind. Okay, the fourth point is lapping length for column is 48 times the dia. Okay, so this is a lapping length you need to choose, 48 times the dia of the bar. So next, fifth one. Okay, fifth one is, okay, here we will consider the spacing of ties. Okay, spacing of ties. Spacing of ties should not be, that should be in between 100 mm to 200 mm. Now the point comes, what is this ties? See, the people who has been already studies, they know what is this ties. People who are seeing very fresh, that means the fresh engineers who want to learn what is this tie means. For example, this is a column. Okay, so this is the longitudinal bars. To hold this longitudinal bars, we are giving this reinforcement which is known as ties. Okay, so here ties, that is spacing between these ties should be in between 100 mm to 200 mm. Okay, so this is the fifth point. Sixth point, if we concentrate, that is selection of dia of the bar. Okay, so we will select in. Okay, next one is the sixth point, that is cover for column. Okay, so if we consider cover, so we choose in between 35 mm, okay, or more if we consider it is 40 mm, but it should not be less than 15 mm. This is condition for cover. So now what is this cover? Okay, for example, so this is a column. Okay, So here while constructing, while constructing this column, so if we see from top, so this is the shuttering that we have provided. This is the column portion. So inside this, what you can see, the gap is the cover. So why this cover is provided? In between shuttering and in between concrete, there is a gap which is called cover. So that we can provide it as 35 mm or more 40 mm, but it should not be less than 15 mm. What is the reason of providing this cover is, whenever we start concreting process, so including for shuttering and from reinforcement, if we are not providing this gap of 25 mm, it becomes difficult for us to cast also. So that is the reason we are providing here clear cover. Okay. So the 7th point is concrete selection. So here minimum grade of the concrete that we need to choose is M20. What is its ratio? 1:1.5:3. For a fresher civil engineer, I had made a video on how to remember these ratios. How to remember these ratios, I have made a very simple video that will, if you go to my playlist, there you can find out. So very simple way of remembering this mix ratio. I had made a video. Okay, go through that. So coming to the 8th one, that is reinforcement area. So minimum reinforcement area that we need to choose is 0.8% and maximum is 6% of its cross-sectional area. Okay. So next one, 9th one, that is longitudinal bar should be duck leg to line with foundation. So what is the meaning of this? That is nothing but, see, this is a column, right? This is your longitudinal bars. So if this is your foundation, it should be in, so to the link with this foundation, it should be duck leg. This is known as the longitudinal bar should be duck leg in line with its foundation. This is nothing but that one. Okay, the last principle that you need to remember here is the last one, that is concrete selection over reinforcement over. Okay, so the last one that you need to remember is cover. Okay, in this also you need to remember the lapping length. Okay, the 10th one that you need to remember is selection of dia of bars. So here we will select the dia of the bar as from 16 mm to 22 mm. Okay, so for ties we will select 10 mm. For longitudinal bars we will select 16 mm to 22 mm. This is for ties. Thank you. Continue watching. I'll upload more videos and you suggest me on what topic I need to make videos so that it helps for your career growth also. Okay. Thank you. Subscribe and like my channel.